Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, I'm really excited to welcome as a guest to the show today, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein. She is an artist, author, philanthropist, abundance coach, mentor, mother, and wife. And during her career as a journalist, she's worked for magazines and television in South America and the US, touching subjects from parenting, forgiveness, and growth to political issues. Wow, such an expansive background. Welcome, Claudia. I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. When people ask me, what do you do? I say, I'm a mom. That's it. So I don't have to go through the whole explanation of all the hats that I wear.
Yeah, I mean, I really love what you shared with us in your bio, because I mean, the truth is that so many of us are actually multi-passionate, right? And
Yes.
and there are so many like of these multi-dimensional facets of each of us. And the society that many of us have been living in right up to this point promotes conformity and kind of like putting everything into labels and into certain boxes. So I love that.
It's important to explore all the talented that we have, um, all the things that we like. Sometimes we are the ones that set the limits, instead of just explore. Maybe, you love to see paintings, but maybe you have a talent to be an artist yourself. And until you don't grab that brush and that canvas, you're not going to find out.
So true. That is so true. And nothing's written in stone either. That's part of, I believe, one of the blessings of having this human experience here is that we can create, is that we're wired to create.
Yes.
I love that so much. I would love to know, what is your number one, when you think about, what's your deepest heart's desire to create positive change in the world? What is the number one thing that comes forward?
I think definitely kindness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when we come from a place of love, even when you say the most terrible news or the most negative things, it comes with the compassion and the empathy together with the information. And when you communicate with kindness, then the person that is receiving the information is more open to receive it. I always use analogies with my clients, and I had used it with my daughters since they're little. And I always said to them, excuse me, conversations are like playing ping pong. If you hit the ball hard, the other person is going to hit the ball hard too. But if somebody throw a ball on you and you kind of, don't respond, don't react, and let that ball kind of roll, eventually it's going to stop. So it's how you respond to the approach of the people around you that is going to change the nature of the conversation. So if we are more aware of this and we respond instead of react in a kind way, then we're going to have a better communication and it's going to be less conflict. And the other person is going to be more open to listen, or even if they don't agree, just to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely kindness. And I mean, I really believe this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. I really believe that all conflict in the world, anything negative in the world, really stems from someone who is having their own experiences, their own challenges, and making a choice based upon that bias and projecting it out in a way that ignites that conflict. I really feel like that's what it is. And so much of it is, I believe, also from trauma and environmental conditioning and childhood experiences, that unfortunately, this happens with so many of us, and I've experienced it myself, is that if we have something that's unprocessed or unhealed and we continue to carry that out into our adulthood, it can manifest itself in so many
Absolutely.
different ways.
Absolutely. And I also believe that trauma is the inability to be present, because you are in your trauma. You are not where you are right now. So when you have to face a situation, you're going to face the situation with the report that you have of the past experiences, because that's where your trauma is. So you're not going to be objective. Your perception is going to be kind of cluttered because of those experiences that you have in the past. This is why it's so important. Even when I have a client that wants to start a new relationship, I said, your next doesn't have to pay for your ex. You have to heal first. You have to come to terms. What is your responsibility? Why this relationship didn't work? What are the ripple effects of whatever trauma I had in the past that affected that relationship? And once you are in balance with yourself and align with what it is that you want, kind of like a blank canvas, then you can aspire to have a different relationship or a new relationship. But if you're carrying that trauma, you're gonna go into the same emotions that you were in the past relationship, because you were not able to heal. So the fears that the past relationship left, you're gonna bring it to the new one, even if the new person is totally trustworthy and is a total different person than the person before. But you are judging it in a way because your perception of the situation is going to go back to your past. And that's
Absolutely.
how, it becomes a vicious circle. And there are people that say, I'm never going to find somebody because I always end up with this kind of person. It's not that you always end up with that kind of person. It's the number one, you're looking unconsciously for that kind of person because that's familiar to you. And if you happen to have somebody new, you're putting that person in the same level, in the same boxes as the past relationship. So your next is paying for the mistakes of your ex. And the only person responsible for that is you, because you didn't heal before you started a new relationship.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you used relationships as an example too, because I believe that applies not only to, life partners, but also it applies it with career too. And pretty much the dynamic of any relationship you have, right? Relative,
Yes.
friends, colleague, child, client.
Relationships are the same. I mean, the feelings are different because, of course, you're not going to love your child like you love your partner, but the interaction is the same. And when you don't have a good relationship with yourself, very rarely, I would risk to say never, but very rarely you will be able to have a good relationship with somebody else. Because relationship also, part of being in a relationship with somebody is accepting the person. You don't have to like it 100%. You don't have to agree 100%. But to be in a relationship with somebody, you need to accept that that person is who that person is, and not going in a relationship with somebody trying to change that person or try to make that person become who you need that person to be. That is up to that person. But if you come to the relationship thinking, oh, I know this guy is good A, B, C, and D, but the rest, I'm going to shape it. I'm going to change it. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that because it does not work that way. The people that are going to grow, or they're going to show the best version of themselves, they're going to do that because they want to do it, not because they have a partner who wants to transform them into somebody else. We are, to an extent, information junkies. We grab whatever we hear, and oftentimes we take that information as a fact. We convince ourselves, we look for evidence, and then we're content because we're right. you know, and oftentimes we're wrong because we're basing all that information on our old experiences. You know what I'm saying? And then those experiences oftentimes are also a perception of what we were living at that moment. So not even that information is real. So we have to go to the bottom of it and say, okay, let's clean this up a little bit and see what are my beliefs? What are my limited beliefs? What is real? What is going to work for me? What is a non-negotiable? And then once you are in alignment with yourself in the relationship you have with yourself, then you can go to the world and have a better relationship with somebody else.
Yes. Well, and making decisions for the heart, from the heart, not from the
Right.
mind, right? Everything
Right.
you're talking about is coming from the mind, which the mind obviously serves a purpose, otherwise we wouldn't have it, but it kind of has its place. And I think in so many of us are conditioned to think that we have to use the mind in all of our decisions, right? And so we're a bit we can be a bit disconnected from
Yeah.
our heart and from our physical body, because it's just as important for us to know within our heart and our body what feels like that truth, what feels right.
Right. And I mean, I feel that you feel with your heart and you think with your head.
Yeah.
If you try to feel with your head, you are going to make decisions based on your emotions, not in a logical way. If you think with your head, then you are going to think what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. But if you think with your emotions, then most likely what you see in that moment is not what is really happening. That's what when sometimes, I advise people that when sometimes they're angry, not to make decisions, not to say things in a reactive way, because whatever you're going to say is not what your brain is telling you to say, is what your emotions are telling you to say. And oftentimes, it's a reaction. And oftentimes you'll say something that would make the situation worse instead of help the situation.
Yes, I would love for you to share more with us about how you work with your clients and what inspired you to this path to where you're at today.
I had to go through a lot of disappointments and a lot of betrayals to an extent. I had to, and I say I had to, but I didn't have to. Life put me through it. I mean, I'm a strong believer that things doesn't happen to me, they happen for me. And when I perceive those situations as a positive or even as a learning experience, then I am more willing and more open to accept the lesson. So I made a decision with myself and to myself that I wanted to grow and I wanted to help myself to be able to help other people, because I didn't want anybody to have to go through what I went through, in my past relationships and in my past in general. So I started taking classes, going to seminars, learning different techniques that would help me. And kind of by default, I started coaching people. Then I got, my certifications and all that stuff. But at the beginning, it was just, coaching people from my heart. I had this experience. Why don't you try this? I felt this when I was in a situation like yours, and these tools helped me. And little by little, I started to realize that my passion was to empower people, especially women. And one thing led to another one, and I start coaching and I start, changing lives. But in a way, it wasn't just me changing the life of somebody, it was the willingness of the client to make whatever changes they needed to make to achieve that life that they wanted. I was just a tool. I was an instrument for them that was showing them what did work for me and what I have learned, so they can use the same thing and achieve the same results. Oftentimes we think that, oh, I want a life of abundance and I want to have this and I want to have that. abundance is a state of mind. If you really feel in your mind and you're grateful for what you already have, then the universe is going to bring you more. But if you have a scarcity mind and you think everything is negative and everything happens to you, then you're going to be in the same place feeling sorry for yourself. So it's a working process for me, and it's a working process for my clients as well. When I meet somebody, I always have like a first meeting to see if we're compatible, because I mean, we don't have to be compatible with everyone, you know. Some people get along better with a male therapist or coach, and some others like a woman, some other like an older woman, some other like a younger woman. It's different with everyone. So my first interaction is, let's see if we have chemistry, if we can get to a level of trust where you can feel you can open and we can talk. The second step is finding out what it is that they want, what they trying to achieve. And right after that, I want to know why, because I think that the why is oftentimes more important than what they want, because that's going to be the fuel. That's going to be what is going to keep them motivated when the days are not that great, when the results are not that fast. You know, they got to remember that why and say, okay, this is what I am in this journey, and this is my goal, and it's worth it, and it's important enough for me to keep doing the work until I achieve that life of abundance that I want for myself.
Absolutely. It's such an excellent point that you bring up about the why, because sometimes even our deeper motives for decisions that we're making can come from a fear-based place versus a place of possibility, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So true. So much truth.
For me, fear is face everything and rise.
Yeah.
So I divided it in that way. So yes, of course I have fear. You know, we will have to be psychopath not to have fear or remorse. So I do have fear sometimes when I'm starting something new, or when I'm gonna meet somebody new, or I mean, I'm not a person that can go on a stage and talk to 3,000 people. You know, that's not my personality. These one-on-one are better for me. But if I have to go and talk to more than 3 people, of course I'm going to have fear. But I also have to remind myself the value of what I'm bringing to the table. And that empowers me, because you never know who's listening. You never know who needs to hear what you're saying in that moment, and how that simple story that you're sharing can change the life of somebody, or give them the possibility, like we were talking before, to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's so true. What has been or was the greatest challenge, obstacle, block for you to overcome on your growth journey to get to where you are today?
I think it was believing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of limited beliefs, not only from my childhood, but during my life. You know, sometimes people say something to you, in that simple sentence stuck in your head, you know. So every time you want to make a move, or you want to say something, or you want to express yourself, you hear that in the back of your head, and then you hold back. And this is not my first language. So for me, writing a book was a huge accomplishment, because I wrote it in English and then I translated to Spanish. So all my thought process was in English the whole time. And as much as that was a challenge, it was so empowering for me, because I was breaking all those limited beliefs that I had before. And as an immigrant, it's like you come with that suitcase with limited beliefs, you know, because of what everybody believes about immigrants, because this is not your language, because you'll say something and somebody would correct you. And then you're like, wait a minute, you know, are you an author? How could you be an author? You know, you just say this word, but you meant this other word. Well, that's when you have editors that they can correct one word that you meant a different, you know, in a different way. But I think the biggest challenge for me has been trusting myself, believing myself, and break those limited beliefs that were holding me back from achieving what I was meant to achieve.
What you accomplish is truly amazing. I mean, I have so much admiration for you.
Thank you.
I can imagine, only imagine some of the challenges that you experienced with that. It inspires me to want to become fluent in other languages as well. I mean, I've, dabbled a little bit in the past, but that's amazing. That's truly amazing. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Well, I wrote a book called, this was my first book, Brighter Days. Is 88 most important lessons learned in life for women that want to increase their confidence, resilience, and courage. And I use it with my clients as well. These are this was a work of love that I created for my daughters, pretty much because I had cancer 3 times, and I always thought if one day I'm not around, I would like them to be able to go somewhere and remember what I used to say all the times. So I wrote this book for them, and I was very surprised when other people start buying it and start giving me good feedback, and and sharing their experiences and praising what I have shared with them, because that for me was another how could you say this, it was like another reason to believe in myself. It was like, wait a minute, is this is not just for my girls, this is for every woman that feels stuck, that feels that there is no options for them. There is always an option. You just need to see the possibilities and believe in yourself and believe that I deserve better, and I am worthy of better, and I am a whole, and I am not half of anything. When you truly believe that, then the sky is the limit. You don't need somebody to tell you 24/7 that you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You don't need somebody to tell you that you're smart. You're smart. And one of the challenges that exercise challenge that I have in my book. And my book, I have some challenges in the back of it, in exercises for my clients to do, and whoever buys the book, is looking themselves in the mirror, excuse me, and say to yourself, I love you. You're great. You have done amazing. You have come a long way. And it's not an easy task. I mean, not everybody can look at themselves in the mirror and say those things. And I assure you, at the beginning, you're going to cry. You're not going to know what to say. You're not going to be able to hold your eyes looking at you, back at you. But eventually, that person looking back at you is going to become your best friend. And you're going to be invincible because you have absolutely everything you need. You just need to discover it.
Looking at yourself is really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've had some experience with some mirror work in the past as well, and also recommended it to clients, and it's super powerful. Going back to something I had mentioned earlier about how it's easy for us to live disconnected from the physical aspect of ourselves, from our body. We tend to be in our minds so much of the time, and what you're sharing there is so important, to be able to connect with yourself in that way.
Yes, it is. And oftentimes we don't do that. Even when we put our makeup on, we're not looking at ourselves. We're looking at the eyebrow and the cheek and the lip. But go in front of a mirror and look at your eyes and send something kind to yourself.
Yes.
That's how you should start the day. You're beautiful, and believe it. Because saying to yourself you're beautiful is more than just you look beautiful. You are beautiful. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to nourish yourself. You have to remember that for example, I'm 56 years old, but I have a 6-year-old inside me, and a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and a 20, and a 30, and a 40 that has been with me all this journey and had helped me become who I am right now. So I owe it to them, and I need to be kind to them because they did the hard work. They went through the experiences. They cry, they got disappointed, they got hurt, they got ignored, disrespected, and they survived. And now I'm here. But all those other Claudias are with me, inside me, and we need to acknowledge them, and we need to be kind to them.
Yeah, so important to honor all those versions of yourself, for sure.
Yeah.
Claudia, in closing, what else are you feeling guided to bring forward? What would you most want the listeners to know?
What I would like the listeners to know is that we all are here to learn, to be teachers, and to be students. But we're here to learn, and we have the right to be happy. That's a right that we have. And we should fight for that happiness. And we should look for that happiness in little things every day. Don't allow somebody else, life, your boss, business, society to dictate what kind of life you're going to have. You make that decision every day. Wake up every day and say, today I'm going to be happy. Today I'm going to learn something good. Today I'm going to do something for somebody else. So then at the end of the day, you can go back to bed and say, today I had a great day. And it's your attitude. It's how you perceive your life and how you perceive yourself. I would encourage them to journal. I don't know if you know, but I have 3 journals, one for children, one for women, and one for men. They're all in Amazon and on my website as well. And they're very easy. They're 5 minutes, but they have those prompts that would inspire you to do that every single day, in the morning and at night. So then you have a complete day of joy. If you break a nail, it's not going to be, I was stuck in traffic and I had a fight with my boss, and on top of that, I broke a nail. No, you're going to say, yeah, I was in traffic and I listened to a podcast. My boss wasn't having a really good day. I kind of broke a nail, but in general, I had an awesome day.
Yeah, so true, to reframe things in that way. Thank you for sharing that. And if someone we'll certainly include all of the information you sent us and included here in the show notes for the listeners. But just for those who are listening only, where is the best place for them to find you if they want to learn more about you and work with you?
My website is brighterdaysbook.com is the name of my book. And you can buy my books and my journals there too. If not, they are also in Amazon. If they write my name in Amazon search, all my books will come up there. And I'm pretty fast answering. So even if they have questions, I think we're here to serve. And if I can serve, I'm happy to bring whatever joy I can to anybody's life. So reach out.
Oh, so wonderful. Love that. Thank you so much for being a guest, for coming on here, and for sharing all of your wisdom. I so appreciate it, and I know that the listeners will too.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.